That is right. We are live. Live this Boxing Day. Coming to you live from smart and feeling very fat city Glasgow here. Oh boy, I hope we're all feeling very stuffed after yesterday's festivities. I have got some chilling out to do with all of you. There's nothing serious here today, although you know, I may have stumbled upon something absolutely massive. How are we all doing? A Merry Christmas to all of you out there. Yes, let me see if I can get the chat room sorted. We'll see if we can get that working. Very relaxed, very chilled out today. Oh, we've got our anthem on. Big shout out to Paddy. Yes, Paddy. Thank you for making that. I know we've changed up the music lately, but big ups to Paddy for putting this together for the KBS Savages. Yes, indeed. 52 savages here already. Unbelievable. So yeah, hope you all had a good day yesterday. I think I had mentioned maybe going live yesterday, but once I got into the way of things and we got the dinner done and I kept on eating and I kept on eating and I kept on eating. Where I put it, I do not know. You know, I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry, but food and family took priority. Yes, in that order. Wow, what is it about Christmas dinner? I mean, I'm all of 5'4". If I turn side on, some people blink, you miss me. But yeah, when it comes to Christmas dinner, I find storage capacity where I didn't know I had any. Honestly, it was scary to look at the mountain of food that Anne had put together for me. And yet, there I was, away with it, and then some, and then only hours later, we're talking roast beef sandwiches, we're talking waking up in the middle of the night, eating chocolate. What's that all about? You got me thinking. As you know, I do on KBS, I think about probably the most weird things. But we're all a bit self-indulgent or over-indulgent come Christmas time, right? And I hang out with people like Nacy, who rightly points to things like the winter solstice. And if we take it back to being, you know, purely instinctual kind of stuff, you know, I think our greed on Christmas Day comes from the season we're in. There's still a part of us somewhere deep down in our DNA that's wondering, are we, maybe we could hibernate. And maybe we best just get as much of this good stuff down as we can. I don't know. But yeah, that was my day yesterday. And I thought, well, today I could like be really lazy and just chill out and mong out and put my feet up. But no. and got the whip out. Get back to work, Baker. I know, I'm only joking. She didn't, but we're chilling out. We've got a glass of wine here today. A glass of wine, and I've managed to liberate one of my son's cans of cider. Awesome. We're pushing the boat out here on KBS today, right? So we're going to take a look at something very, very Scottish in just a moment. And talking of Scottish, I want to give a shout out to, is it Z Troy? Where's his name? I've lost his name, man. Too many people in the chat room. Come on, folks. Where are we in the chat? I'll find it. His name's Troy in real life anyway, but I'm sure it's Z Troy. Is it? I'll find it in here somewhere. I see Lessons for Life in there. Good to see you, man. Hope you're having a good Christmas. Psycho Dave's in there. Algo, Polly, Bella. I can't even find who I was talking about before. Somebody banned him. Nicholas Cooling. 31 inches. Wow. Now that's an eye-watering length. 31 inches of snow. Snow! Ladies and gentlemen, snow. 31 inches of snow between Christmas Eve and today. That's wowzers. Luna is in there. She says she left something over in disco. Okay, Luna, you're probably going to have to... There it is, Z Troy, man. There it is, Z Troy, man. I think he's local. You'll probably enjoy this first part of the show. Because we're going to take a look at, you know, how we celebrate this time of year in Scotland, and we're going to take a look at some Glasgow isms, as I call it, and some isms from the rest of Scotland that Glasgow people don't get. But then we're going to take a look at a pretty significant event that took place over China. We had great balls of fire, ladies and gentlemen, yes, indeed. And they were dropping down over China. And then we're going to be taking a look at an alien message. Only this could be something big, and it could be nothing. Could be something about nothing. I'm not too sure. DJ Bison in the chat room, in for a cheeky £2 coming in on the super chat. Now I better make sure I've got an alert box on here. I don't yet. I don't. But we're gonna look back in time, okay? Now we'll see. Thank you, DJ. There we go. There we go.
Merry Christmas and a hairy hands New Year, Kevin Cape's crew.
Now that makes it all the more special. A hairy-handed New Year. Imagine that when you go to shake somebody's hand this Hogmanay. Because in Scotland, we don't do New Year, we do Hogmanay. So you go to shake a hand and it's an extremely profusely hairy hand. The first thing you're going to do is check it's not attached to a gorilla, I would imagine. Or at least that'd be my first thought. So after checking it's not attached to a gorilla, is it a hairy hand or is it a hairy hand? You know what I'm saying? Listen, you've got to have been about the Kev Baker show to get the significance of the hairy hands, okay? You really do. But there's something that's been kind of brewing away in the back of my mind, okay? We know that one of my 2020 bingo card offerings, what I put my money on, was going to be First Contact of some kind, right? And we always talk about aliens and UFOs and stuff like that on here. So as today's show goes on, and it's not a show, it's just chilling out, there's going to be a little bit of deep divage, but there might also be a bit of reflection as well. I think I might need to take you, the audience, back in time to perhaps bring about one of the great aha woo moments of 2020. An aha woo moment of 2020, this late in the day, in a year where we've had murder hornets and all that other good stuff. Something, and you know how sometimes I can't remember like what colour socks I put on, what day it is, but I can remember lines that were said to me in a show years ago. Boom, like a Rolodex. It's there. I was reading a couple of stories about something that really excited me, and it excited all of us recently. Signals from alien worlds. But then that little voice inside my head, the one that is attached to my gut, started to give me the spidey senses, and it started saying, Kev, remember? And then I did remember. And that's why today, maybe, it might be nothing. It might be nothing, because the initial story we're going to use to get to where we're going, kind of I'll debunk it before we even get there. But that's what makes us a little bit different around here. And to do that, it might take a little while. It might be a bit longer than our usual live stream, because we're going to have to go back to 2016 to a conversation I had with somebody that was at the heart of one of the best woo stories there's ever been. Yeah. I'm not going to tease you anymore, but it's good. It's good. Stick with us. We've got that to come. We're also going to take a little look forward to 2021, according to Baba Vanga. Yeah, you can't get in, you can't approach the end of one year looking towards another without going to our favourite kind of Eastern European soothsayer. You know what I'm saying? Not many Nostradamuses around today, and although Baba Vanga isn't around today, she's about the nearest thing we've had to, okay? So we'll be taking a little look at that. If we get really stuck, we might even dive down the CERN hole. CERN? Kev Baker's going back to CERN? Maybe. We've got stories about little people as well. I'm telling you. And we've also got a story about mind and memory. How strange and sinister tales, and we all know we love them, right? You and P here. Come on, let's face it. If you weren't into the woo, KBS would not be for you, right? But what if I was to tell you that the stranger and the more sinister the tale is, the more and more we tend to find our own minds play tricks on us. Yep. So all of that could be to come, hopefully to come. It is to come. But listen, this is going to be totally different. It's not going to be structured in any way. There's going to be chilling out. There's going to be me putting my feet up. Probably after the amount of Brussels sprouts I ate yesterday as well. It could get a bit noisy in here. I'm only being honest. Anne's making vomiting noises in the background. I know, she knows, and Kevin knows that I've got about 70 Brussels sprouts worth of air biscuits to float between now and tomorrow. Because if I don't, there's a good chance I'm going to explode. Now, I could be the first person to explode on a stream, which would definitely get me my 1 million hits, right? That'd be the ultimate in clickbaiting. Yeah? No? I don't know. Joe Joseph? Did somebody say Joe Joseph in the chat room? Whoa! See how somebody says that name and my eyes just get drawn to it? So I'm going to get into the chat room before we go anywhere, right? It's Boxing Day, we're chilling out. 80 odd people in here, that's a lot more than we usually get. I would take my hat off, but it's looking disastrous under there. Luna, undoubtedly laughing at my Brussels sprouts jokes, I hope. Polly, Algo, and Malaya is in there. If you've got anything you need doing with your soul, Malaya, that's the one to go and see. That one right there, that lady, she's thinking on different levels, big time. Check out the show we done with Malaya. You can check out the umpteen shows we've done with Luna. We got Jules in there. Happy Christmas to you, Jules. ZX81, who put me on to a very interesting program today indeed. Thank you, brother. We've got Zulu. Greetings from Croatia. Well, you know, funny you mentioned Croatia, because today when I was diving into the nostalgia truth or memory hole to find a bit of woo that I needed for today's show, it reminded me of one of the shows we done. Remember Alex from Ukraine? It's been so long since I've heard from Alex. I suppose probably the chances of him seeing this probably pretty minor. Maybe, I don't know. I've still got him on Skype. I might try and reach out to him, but took me back, you know, 2016. Myself and Johnny Whistles. Johnny was riding shotgun back then, and you know, just when you mentioned Croatia there, listening to Alex from Ukraine today, I tell you, we've done a lot of work here on the Kev Baker Show. I throw out that we've done like over 1,400 episodes all the time, but even me, somebody that's been there for near enough every one of them, sometimes it's lost on me all of the topics that we've covered, and more importantly, all of the great people we've come across as well, you know? And that's the time of year when you think about that kind of thing, right? Well, I do anyway. So back into the chat room before I get totally waylaid. We've got so much to get into today. It could be a really long one. I'm warning you now. Warning you. You've been warned. There might not actually be enough alcohol to accompany everything I've got for today's stream. Yes, but we're good. Donnie. Yalla, brother. We've got John Krakow in there. Who else we got? We got Zetroy, man. My voice is generally too much for the lady. It's a cross between Sean Connery, Fergie, and Big Jesus. Now, that would probably do it for most ladies. A Zetroy, man. And he works in the movie business. There you go. I'll out you. Lessons for Life, Project Bluebeam. Oh, no, brother. What I've got today, it takes Project Bluebeam and it totally surpasses all of that good stuff. Trust me. Who else we got in here? We have got Brian Algo. Remember, check out Algo's channel. I think that's pretty much... We can get into some of it now. We can start to chill out. Carol, good to see you, Carol. Bella, Psycho Dave. I think I done you, Psycho Dave, but it'll do you again, man. Rose, St. Marionette King, the King. And of course, Nicholas was 31 inches. Who could forget that? So then, with that said, yes, Zulu, choose life. It doesn't matter what the other option is. Just choose life, okay? So before we get to what could be perhaps some really, really good woo that probably deserves to be in a standalone video, probably deserves a show of its own. We don't roll like that here. We might edit afterwards and we might put it up as a video of its own. But before we get there, it's Christmas time, right? Boxing Day today. I'm sure a lot of you are feeling stuffed like I am. Probably got your feet up. Probably wondering, how on earth's name did I get that for Christmas? You know, there's always one present, and I can't say anything, obviously, because I'm in things, so you can't out presents, but Christmas was different this year, right? No, not the thing that we're used to most years. I found a really interesting story today. I thought it'd be a really cool, laid-back way to get us going for our Boxing Day stream. And sometimes I don't appreciate that perhaps living in Glasgow, I don't appreciate just how funny and strange and kind of just how brilliant Glasgow is at times. Sometimes you're too far into the forest to see the trees. Do you know what I'm saying? You don't appreciate where you are until you've left there or until it's gone, right? And there's some things, it's just typically... not Scottish, but typically Glaswegian. There's things that will only happen in Glasgow, but they won't happen in other bits of Scotland. And I've lived in other bits of Scotland. There's things that happen in other bits in Scotland that people in Glasgow would just turn their eyebrow up at. You get me? So it's kind of... I am lucky to be where I am. And I suppose, having been here for over 20 years now, and living with most of that, it's really shaped me into the person that keeps you coming back for a little bit more. So this story today, I thought, well, that's a good way. We can kind of get a laugh at that. We can chill out. And it's very Glaswegian in spirit. So here, Glaswegians share the weirdest Christmas presents they've ever received. I think the first picture says it all. Now, I don't know whether the weirdest present would be the calendar of pigeons or the fact that somebody has bought somebody a pigeon hat. Now, if I was to wear this pigeon hat, right, Anne would absolutely off. She would. I've never seen any human being, man or woman, as scared of pigeons as Anne. Part of me, that really cruel, toxic, boisterous bit, wants to laugh. And anytime I see pigeons, I think, well, I scare them just to see how how catatonic and becomes. But no, because I know there's always a shoe. There's always a shoe. I'm always a shoe away from being put back in my place, right? But this one here, this picture, this is what sealed it for me. We had to go down this road. So we're going to take a look at some of these Glaswegian crazy Christmas presents. But then we're also going to take a look at things that happen in Glasgow. That only happen in Glasgow and nobody else in Scotland would get. And then things that happen in the whole of Scotland that nobody in Glasgow would get. So we're keeping it real. We're keeping it local. And then from there, we've got woo. Don't worry, we've got woo. We've got fireballs. We've got something that could potentially be a huge bit of woo I've putting together for you. We need to go back in time to look at something. Oh, it's weird. It's wonderful. Look, let's get into it, right? So it says it's Christmas Day. And it's safe to say it's probably going down as the weirdest one in living memory. I'd say so. With that in mind, we're leaning into the theme this year by asking Glaswegians about some of the most random gifts that they've ever received. Of course, it's the thought that counts, but looking at some of these bizarre presents, a wee card might have said it better. And here's our roundup of the weirdest gifts you've ever received on Christmas Day. Now, before we go anywhere then, right? Algorithm says we have Florida man and the UK has Glasgow man. Not far wrong. Not too far wrong, my friend. West of Scotland man. It's more of a general kind of West of Scotland thing. There's something not quite right. But it's a good not quite right, if you know what I mean, right? But before we even look at any of these, let me ask you great people out there, what's the most bizarre thing you've ever had on Christmas? Come on, tell me. You know you're all thinking of it already. You're all thinking, oh boy, I remember getting that, right? And you know, in the background, we're going to get some Christmas music on. Aye, we are. Let's see. Look, we've got it all going on here. Look, we've got crazy cool graphics going on. We've got festive Christmas coloured Merry Christmas writing, and SpongeBob's having a laugh, and yeah. So I got a plot of land on the moon. Now, the Troy man, that is a damned fine Christmas present. Damned fine. It's strange, admittedly, but that is a superb. That's original, man. Divorce papers, but that was pretty epic if you ask me. Boom, boom. Well, as long as you can laugh about it, I'll go. That's what I like to hear, man. Once I got a single hollow plastic hen's egg. Is that like a... Did somebody like buy you a Kinder egg, but they like couldn't resist stealing the toy? Who gave you that, Psycho Dave? No wonder you're a psycho, Dave. No wonder. A gift, sometimes money. Bonus, says Thomas Teralt. Jules said, she woke up with not feeling too well. Thought I was tired from the long celebration, and my headache was a hangover. Hope you feel better soon, Jules. I do. I really do. I'll include you in our warrior mode prayers tomorrow, sister. That's for sure. So come on, before we look at these Glasgow ones, I'm Psycho Dave. Whoever gave you that is really wrong. Really, really wrong. Psycho Dave, your sister-in-law. Sisters-in-law are strange things, aren't they? I'm lucky. I'm really friendly with two of them. The other one, I don't really talk to her that much, but yeah, two of them really friendly with. I don't think any of them would give me a hollowed out plastic egg. I don't think so. Yeah. Z-Troy says, if anyone crashes on my moon spot, I'm due heavy royalties. Absolutely. I can tell you're Scottish, Z-Troy. I'm liking you, man. And Z-Troy was the guy that put us onto the TTSA, maybe being in trouble the other day. We're going to take another little look at that, maybe. Because it ties in with the kind of space woo I've got for all of us to look at. Yes, indeed. Okay, we've had that one. We'll have We'll put on another Christmas tune in the background now. There's only so many Wish You Merry Christmases you can have. To the world. Yesterday I got a set of throwing knives and a crossbow and a straw target. Psycho Dave. I don't think a more appropriate present could have been picked for you, my friend. I pity your sister-in-law now that you've got that, right? I'm only joking, man. I know nothing's gonna happen to Psycho Dave's sister-in-law. Nothing at all bad's gonna happen there, okay? Right, let's get back here. Because even I'm keen to see what these Glaswegians got. I only had a little peek. Just a little peek. PPP, folks. It's a season to be jolly and all that. I have a little drink if you've got one. Yes, obviously, if you're over 18 or 21 or whatever the age is in your particular country. So then, Ellen Davis, she's first up. She says, a thing for taking stones out of horses' hooves. I've never had a horse, never even been on one. Now that there is a pretty stupid present, I must admit. So Susie Murray says, a 4-piece jigsaw and a frilly umbrella. A 4-piece jigsaw? What? What did they think you were? 2 years old? I was about 40 at the time. My husband did his Christmas shopping after an afternoon in the pub. Nah, you see, you should have started it like that. And then we should have guessed, and I bet somebody would have guessed a 4-piece jigsaw. I'll not live that one down. No, listen, Susie. I hate to be the one to tell you this, but you're probably like the butt of a very big joke when it comes to him and his mates when it comes to Christmas nights out. Remember that year ago, the 4-piece Christmas? I'm only so... look, Susie, I don't want to break up any families this Christmas, alright? So we're going to move on. Valerie Markey, an ironing board. Oh, an ironing board? I threatened to get Anne. Did I not offer to get you an iron one year? I think what? I would have got hit with it. Yeah, I think I said it for a joke. I think it was a joke. It must have been a joke if it was Anne and ironing, trust me. So they hadn't wanted to get my husband a personal Christmas present. So this was a joint one. It was in a big box and I was quite excited to open it. Disappointment doesn't cover it. I can laugh about it now, as it was over 40 years ago. However, psychologists would probably say that's still affecting you to this very day. The fact that you twitch every time you see an ironing board and want to slap people, and I'm just saying it's probably down to that. I remember one Christmas, if my old dear is listening, which she probably is, I find she's one of my most loyal fans, which is both very, very lovely and quite uncomfortable at the same time. But I remember one Christmas, right? And done the thing, opened all the stuff under the tree and that. And to be honest with you, to be fair with you, been a pretty good whack, pretty good Christmas. When I looked at all the stuff around me, I thought, not bad, not done too shoddy here. So I was sent into the kitchen to get something. And being a wee guy at the time, I used to have to kind of stretch to get to the taps. No, don't be laughing. I did. And this time I was like, oh, having to stretch over this thing to get to the taps. But I got there and I think I was putting the kettle on and came back out, and I could tell there was something going on because they're all kind of sitting there looking at each other going, no, go back into the kitchen. Well, you know, see what was in the kitchen? Do you know why I missed what was in the kitchen? Because she had bought a bike for a giant. This was like a bike for a Nephilim. It was like I had to reach over the top of it. Like that was my hand going over the saddle of this thing. I didn't even recognise it as a bike. It was that big. There you go. Now my man's feeling really bad for getting me a bike that was the wrong size for me. But not that that's lived with me. Not that that's scarred me any through my life or anything like that. Not much. Anyway, so if we go back into here, right? Now then, Julie Elizabeth, who really... What is it about having two first names? I'm not sure about that. Like your surname's like a first name? It's weird, isn't it? Taxidermy stuffed duckling, complete with Santa hat. Is that it there? An actual duckling that was stuffed? What on? Right. Now, I'd like to know what year this was. Could I suggest we put the giver of this present onto some kind of watch list? Typically, these are the type of people that are loners, and they end up headline news when a bunch of people go missing one after the other. I'm just saying, all right? Just saying. So Angie Hazard, she got 2 tubs of Slim Fast. Oh my goodness. No, you don't do that. She said, I got 2 tubs of Slim Fast off my granny with a size 20 to 22 pants. And she was only a size 12. Oh, ouch. She got my 2-year-old daughter a big tub of cough sweets. Ouch. You know, she's getting old, Angie. We love them, right? We all love our grandparents. You know, you make the most of them, even if they are buying you pants that are 2 times too big for you. Maybe she knows something you don't. Hold on to them. There may be different times down the road, Angie. I'm going to get slapped the next time I'm walking down the high street or something. Wadding. What was that for? My name's Angie Hazard, you cheeky wee there you go. So, Michelle Sims says, I told my husband on our first Christmas together I wanted a surprise. He bought me one. Kinder Surprise. I've learned to be more specific. More to the point, why are you still married to him? You know, I think you've probably got grounds for a divorce if you go to a pretty, not even a decent lawyer, and say, look what this absolute shyster got me for my Christmas. But then we don't know the full story. We don't know what the husband had to endure. I mean, what did she buy the husband? We don't know. See, we're only dealing with half the story here. Don't judge. Margaret Newton, a diary that was 4 years out of date. Oh, nothing makes you feel wanted and loved and part of that tight-knit community that you thought you were a part of, like a diary that's out of date. So Karen McLaughlin got a 6-year-old cardigan from Marks and Spencer's. Now, I tend to find that a cardigan's a really specific type of gift that it's really you gotta be really careful with that kind of thing. I mean, who decides on a cardigan in the first place, right? Discovered this when I went to try and change it from an old auntie. Makes it sound like she's either now an expired auntie or somebody she's actually divorced by law. Either way, not good. Emma Pops, great name. Who cares what you got for Christmas, Emma? You have a pop-tastic name. Emma Pops says the first year. What are you laughing at? Anne likes my patter. Anne's liking my patter tonight. Oh, yeah. Well, might not be the only stocking that's getting filled this year. Oh, boom, boom. The first year I was with my now ex-husband. Yeah, Anne laughing profusely in the background killed that dream, trust me. A very fleeting thought that was. Anyway, back to Emma Pops. Hopefully. The first year I was with my now ex-husband. Oh, she's divorced him. There's a story here somewhere. He bought me a men's shirt. There's a disturbing story here somewhere. It's a shirt that he'd worn when we were out, and I said it was nice, so he bought me it for Christmas. Not as a joke, as my only Christmas present. The signs were all there from the start, I guess. I like that one, Emma. What a tragic story that is. My goodness. So it says, Anne Geddes, my brother gave me an envelope. Good start. It's like that surprise. Oh, mystery. What are we getting here? And inside the card it said I was feeding an ox for a year from Oxfam. Well, hey, listen, that's unique. Nobody else got a year's worth of feeding an ox from Oxfam. There you go. Kaylee Hasty says, slippers off my mum, which were both left feet. Daniel Day-Lewis wouldn't have said no to a pair of them. My sister also got slippers. Oh, come on. Was it only me that got that? And you were meant to laugh there. I thought it was just me. Surely it wasn't just me, right? My sister's also got slippers. Both left feet the same year. Who knew there were so many left-footed slippers out there? And didn't realise until I mentioned it months later. I don't know what's worse, getting two left slippers or not realising it until your sister, who had also got two left slippers, pointed it out. So Psycho Dave says that his favourite presents he bought for himself. That way you can't go wrong. If you did go wrong, that would be really bizarre, wouldn't it? I buy myself a Christmas present every year, and this year I bought myself the Oculus Quest 2. Psycho Dave. Hats off, my friend. Or VR headset on. You know, if I had one of them, see when they kicked me off of Facebook and they banned me, like, oh, Baker, verboten one with Popeye and Scotty. You know that would have ruined my Oculus Quest Rift experience? Yeah, you've got to have an active Facebook profile to be going on there. Hey, don't be getting kicked off of there, Dave. It's all I'm saying, right? So, Scott Kelly says, when I was 9, I bought my dad a stained glass cockerel. No idea why. And I should add that my dad is blind. Scott, I think you're just a cool kind of dude. That's different. At least you bought it. When it comes to stained glass type presents in Glasgow, most people's first thought is, which church did this come from? At least you bought it, man. That's the good thing. Hey, your dad appreciated it, Scott. We're good with that. So now we're getting closer to finding out about the pigeons, right? Madeline Jean pictured below. I told my brother-in-law, Anthony, that I thought pigeons were cute once. So he bought her a pigeon calendar and a pigeon hat. Anne says that hat just gives her the heebie-jeebies. Where do I buy one? Katie McDonald says, a happy divorce glass from my husband. Needless to say, just a typical man. He never read the writing on the glass. You deserve to be divorced. How bitter are you? How did you ever find a man willing to marry you? You sound like somebody very henpecked indeed. A happy divorce glass from my husband. Needless to say, a typical man. What's that mean, a typical man? He never tried. He never read the writing on the glass. Maybe he did. Maybe he was just forewarning you of what's around the corner. Mr. McConnell, do it. Margaret McDonald, a toilet seat. Did not need one, but my cuz thought it would come in useful sometime. Mind you, it was a nice mahogany one. Now that's typically Scottish. In one hand, you're kind of looking at it going, what do I need this shite for? And in the other hand, you're going, but at least it's a mahogany one. So, you know, there's something good about this crap that I don't need. That's typically Scottish. Yeah. Kelly McNichol, a car phone charger when I didn't have a car. Yeah, that definitely stinks and reeks of afterthought. I'm just saying. William Devine, my brother-in-law gave me a Yoda cloak one year for my Christmas, and no doubt to say it ended up in the bin. Why does William Devine sound as if that wasn't a good present? I think that's utterly brilliant. If somebody was ever to give me a Yoda cloak, that would be on some of my best Christmas presents ever. Right? Did we all watch The Mandalorian? I hope so. Yeah, little Grogu. I know he's got a name now. I'm not happy with it. I like Baby Yoda better. Liz Graham. A battery operated. Whoa, I thought we were going into the realms of algorithm unfriendly stuff there. Battery operated gadget to buff on hard skin on the soles of my feet. Is that not a useful gadget? You know? Maybe somebody had spotted that you had feet like some kind of demonic entity. Maybe they looked more like hoofs than feet. I don't know. Jeanette Tennant says, did I really just say that some women have feet more like hoofs? Oh dear me. Jeanette Tennant, I was given a tire pressure gauge once. Couldn't believe my eyes. Why? Was it not working? Did it not look like your typical one? I'm only asking. I think that's a great present to have. Nikki Miller says, hinges for my broken toilet seat even wrapped up. Somebody's been coming round to your house where they've just got fed up of like a year of like sliding off the toilet. Our toilet seat's broken right now. It's like, it's crazy. It's like some kind of, it's like a game show. It's like you hold on to the sides of it, but it doesn't, you don't know what way it's going to go. Sometimes, whoa, you just end up going, woof, clean off it. Hey, it is what it is. We're going to get it fixed. But part of me actually likes that you can play a game like riding the toilet seat when you go in. Why did I tell you all these things, folks? I don't know. So, CC Wallace says, a fag making machine when I was about 12 off my auntie. Right, that's so wrong. But again, so typically Glaswegian. Andrea Riley, my father-in-law goes around charity shops all year picking up stuff. Now, this is just this could be anyone in Glasgow for our Christmas, and also brings stuff back from his holidays. And amongst my gifts one year was a recipe book for people with no teeth. I'm in my 40s and teeth all still intact. And a bus timetable for Jersey, where they had holiday that summer. Hope Murray says, just my ladle. She got her own ladle for Christmas, look. Oh, that makes me want to weep, doesn't it? Isn't that like the saddest Christmas picture ever? Like a child being given her own ladle? I don't know, it just makes me want to weep and cry. I feel sorry for you. So Marie Graham, 101 Dalmatian sweatshirt, second hand. The spots ironed off the Dalmatian. Mother-in-law gave me a, oh, youch. Oh, you know, those Christmas parties were tension. Slice it with a knife, big time. I'll have a slice of that with my Christmas food, please. Damn, dude. Lynn Robertson. I knew a Lynn Robertson once. Not like that, not like that. The steering wheel cover from my ex-husband. What? Why are you still getting Christmas presents from your ex-husband? I mean, very amicable and very friendly and very inclusive and diverse, I suppose. But exes are exes for a reason, are they not? Are they not? I'm just saying. We're back to Kev's boudoir tips. And remember all that stuff we used to get up to a couple of years ago? That was crazy, wasn't it? And Bern Arden. Probably got her name wrong. But in our Secret Santa at work, I got a makeup bag, which had obviously been used and had someone else's name written on it. Ouch. Ouch, Anne. Ouch. Oh, dear Lord. Ooh, lessons. Julian in the chat room, my 10-year-old stepdaughter did not appreciate receiving a Barbie doll pen. Not 5, she said. Oh. Now, Bruce Wayne, I never said any story's worse than CERN. And I might have said that the space news thing that we can look at might be worse than anything that's going on at CERN. But I don't want anyone hanging around for hours on end under false pretenses. Now, one very, very special message from my very special friend, Nancy. My ex got me on the last year we were together car mats. Oh, what? And nothing says, I mean, I really love you and deeply appreciate you like a set of rugs for your car, eh? Shh. Was that the moment, Nancy? Was that it? Was that when the penny finally dropped? He has to go. Was it one of your friends that said car mats, Nancy? I think so. That was it. Final straw. The final mat. Phone was going off there. Yes, indeed. So let's see. Nicola Matthews. Last but not least, a gardening book. I lived in a flat at the time but had no interest in gardening. Ooh, sold. Or still don't. Yep, so look, useless presents in Glasgow, but I still think there's something quite hilarious about that one. I truly, truly do. So look, we're going to stay on the kind of Scottish theme. We're chilling out. We're kicking back. And while I'm here, let me remind you, we do have memberships here if you want to get into the member zone and become an official savage. Yeah, it's just a rumour that the audience are savages, but if you want to officially become a savage, I know it's probably not the best marketing technique in the world, right? Click that big join button down below. You can get into our Sunday, Bloody Sunday Savage streams. Yes, there'll be one tomorrow. I'll be on with Bill tomorrow as well. I'm going to get a little drink, little puff of PPP. Before we come back and we take a look at things that are typically Glaswegian, that even the rest of Scotland don't get, and then vice versa. Things that are typically Scottish that people in Glasgow don't get. And me, I'm ideally placed because I've got a foot in both worlds. I've been in Glasgow for about half my life, and I was born and bred in the Highlands. So it's going to be pretty cool. It's kind of quantum when you think about it that way. But I'm going to shove on some really crappy Christmas tunes, and then we will be right back. But I can't shove on the Christmas tunes. I can't do that. Can't do it. I just can't. Here we go. Here we go. You might recognize this one. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a little bit mad around here today. Before we even go there, though, what the heck's happened around here? Something's happened, right? Because 114, this is like the holidays. This is like when you typically get half of the audience that you regularly get on a normal day. But we've doubled it. And hey, it's a brilliant thing. It's magnificent. Just a bit weird, right? Good weird, though. Look at that little elf on the shelf. Look at him go. Rotman, the Bay City Rollers. How bloody old do you think I am, man? The Bay City Rollers? Nah, dude, they were before my time. Oh, a bit of Blondie, man. Blondie was good. Sheena Easton, brilliant singer. Brilliant. Brilliant, yeah. Damn, we're going back in time now. Kevin Duggan, I found your channel by sniping other people's subscriptions. I care not one jot how you got here, Kevin. But usually I find when people get here, they get here for a reason. Nobody knows how you get here. Nobody really ever intended on listening to a really weird Scottish guy. Nobody got up any morning and thought, right, I'm going to go and find a Scottish guy to listen to, and I'm going to make sure it's a really weird one. So how did we all get here? That's a weird one, right? Long way of saying welcome, Mr. Duggan. Thomas, I'll have absolutely none of that nonsense. Green and white all the way. Yeah. Right now, I have to come back. I wasn't going to come back so soon, but Nancy. Me and Nancy, we're like that. We're like two peas in a pod. We're quantumly entangled. She has to put up with my madness. And I'll tell you how she does that, I do not know. But she says here, my mum's ex gave her a pillow wrapped in a fur box. We still hear about it all these years later. That sounds like the opening scene of some really creepy, like, serial killer episode on the crime channel or something. A pillow wrapped in a fur box. Nothing quite says I love you like that. That's all I'm saying. Now let me get a little drink and I'll be back with you, okay? And yeah, listen, if you're willing to hang around and we're going to look at this Scottish stuff, I really do have a significant piece of woo that in typical KBS manner, we're not really hyping up. We're not giving you the big clickbaity title to get you in here to hear that. If you're here to hear it, you're here to hear it. It might be something, it might be nothing. It might just be the biggest piece of woo. And I really mean like a huge piece of woo, folks. Could be. Stay tuned and we will find out. Yes, indeed. Exactly, Nancy. Very strange, eh? Now, come on, you can't say eh. You're in Canada. You have to say eh. I can do a wicked Canadian accent, eh? All I do is say eh at the end of my sentence. It's a really bad effort, I know. Z Troy, you're gonna like hanging around. I think you're gonna like hanging around. Kevin, you recognize 5 people here? That's 5 people more than some people recognize. You're gonna fit right in, dude. We don't tell you how to think, we just encourage you to think. I don't break any big stories here. Nah, it doesn't roll like that. We're different. But it's good different. All rise. Lisa Rue in the chat. Hey. Lisa, good to see you. Hope you're having a good Christmas, my good friend. No, I'll go. I won't break the biggest woo story and then only want to talk about the monolith. No, not this time. Nancy is talking about a gingerbread monolith. Now that's the kind of monolith I could get interested in. Oh my, oh my, oh my. So listen, I don't really probably make enough of my local geography. Like I grew up beside Loch Ness, Fort Augustus, so I tend not to really appreciate the pool that the Loch Ness monster has to outside people, right? People that have never been there. But you hear Loch Ness, you think of the monster, and because I grew up there, it's a bit weird, it's a bit different, right? But same for people that live in Point Pleasant with the Mothman, Roswell with the UFO. If you're in one of these places that's had woo attached, and you grow up amongst it, you view it differently, right? Then go to the army, lived in a few places, lived down in Leicester. When I got out the army, went to Amsterdam, lived there for a while, went back home. And then I had the choice of going anywhere in the UK, really, because I was going to start again, right? And I still don't know to this day why, out of places like Edinburgh, Aberdeen, which I knew. You know, I knew people in Aberdeen, knew people in Edinburgh, knew people down south, Manchester, Liverpool. But no, I decided if I'm going to start anew, I'm going to go to Glasgow, right? Well, I never. I mean, I'm pretty well travelled, right? I've been around the place, but nothing can prepare you for living in Glasgow. And yes, there's a little bit of we wish you a Merry Christmas in the background. Nothing can prepare you for coming here. It honestly can't. It's got laws into itself. The people are absolutely amazing. They're amongst the friendliest, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, they're amongst the friendliest I've met in all my travels with the army and living here, there and everywhere, right? But at the same time, At the same time, there's a very violent side to Glasgow as well. So on one hand, you've got the friendliest people in the world, but on the other hand, you don't want to piss them off because it ain't going to end well, right? But there's some things that they only happen in Glasgow, and they're very Glaswegian. And there's things that happen around Scotland that people in Glasgow, they just don't get. So when I was looking today and I found that story about the Christmas presents and it was on the Glasgow Live website, I found a couple of stories that really, really tie into that. And I think for people outside of Glasgow, you'll probably get a little laugh about this. And even people in Scotland, you're going to get a laugh about this as well. Because you'll know exactly what we're talking about here, right? So we come over here. And first up, we're going to look at the Glaswegian sayings and phrases that annoy the rest of Scotland, right? Sounds weird, right? How can people in Glasgow annoy the rest of Scotland? Well, they do. Because they speak differently. And I say they because I could never claim to be Glaswegian, okay? I may be like an adopted son of Glasgow because I've been here so long, but Glaswegian people hear my voice, my accent, and they know right away I'm not from Glasgow, which is weird, because when I go home now, people look at me and they say, "Are you from Glasgow?" So I've got this kind of mongrel thing going on. I'm nobody's child. What can I say? I'm stuck in the middle. What can I say? Feel sorry for Kev. I know, and I know I'm looking for sympathy here, right? But anyway, it could provide for some really good content for the stream here. And don't forget, we've also got some pretty cool space alien woo coming up. I know, it's a weird stream. We're going here, there, and everywhere. But let's get into it. And Kevin Bridges here. If you haven't checked out Kevin Bridges, he's possibly the second funniest living Scotsman today. No, third. Third funniest living Scotsman today. Second is Frankie Boyle. First, Billy Connolly. Now there's 3 Scottish comedians for you to check out right away. Billy Connolly, everyone's heard of him. Frankie Boyle, oh, you better, if you don't like sweary words and really offensive jokes, don't go near Frankie. But Kevin Bridges here, he's a bit of the middle of the road. He can go on like primetime TV to family audiences and things. Funny guy, right? He's from Glasgow, and he's made a career out of the Glasgowisms, as I call them, right? I'm telling you. So, if we come down here, I'm going to cut the music. Cut the music, because that music just didn't go with Glasgowisms at all, right? So it says the Glasgow accent might often be listed amongst the sexiest. Is it? But that doesn't stop. And your accent's sexy? Why, hey, incoming shoe! The Glasgow accent might often be listed, not lifted, but listed as the sexiest, but that doesn't stop some people being left confused and even annoyed by it. In particular, it seems our fellow Scots are left baffled by some of the quirks of the Glasgow dialect, a form of language that could actually allow us to consider ourselves bilingual, as we've said before. Yeah, so people are saying there's actually like a Glasgow, not accent, but language. I actually would probably, I could easily, yeah, I concur, there is. Okay, we realise some of these might have made it beyond the city boundary, Lanarkshire and the like, and we're looking at you. But let's face it, they're still seen as typically Glaswegian, especially to our friends on the East Coast. It says, "Hi, Edinburgh Live," and that's the other website for the East. So, we're going to get into our Glasgowisms, right? Pronouncing the letter J as Jai instead of J. So there's nothing that confuses people from outside Glasgow more. And to make it worse, there are lots of us who don't even realise that we're doing it. Although it's written in the DNA of anyone born and brought up in the city, apparently it's a linguistic phenomenon that extends to other places in the West Coast too. So what do you people say out there? Do you say J or do you say Jai? J-I. J-A-I. What do you say, folks? Come on. Come on. Kazzy, I love you. You know I love you. Scottish people should be able to laugh at this more than anything. What do you say, folks? Do you say J or the letter J for Jonathan? Or do you say Jai? J-A-I. Come on, let's have it. I bet most of it's going to be J. I remember Joe Joseph's face one night when I said J. When I said Jai, sorry. He just kind of looked at me as if to say, right, I don't know what to do here. Couldn't handle it. I also cannot handle Lemmy. I hate him. The Troy man. May I concur with that thought? Oh, dude, I don't get that chap either. I don't. I've never had to say either. So you've never had to say the alphabet. You've never had to say the alphabet, Polly. That I don't agree with. I think you know. So J, Kazi, yeah, Jai. Malaya, love it. May, J, yeah, J Luna. Son name J, nice name. J, Jai, irrelevant if you're English or a Brummie. Well, Brummies, they're another one that really need an accent and a language to themselves, isn't it? Yep, definitely. So, next one. It says here, and one that could have its origins in the fact that Glaswegians, rather than just being lazy, have somehow hung on to what was the original way of saying the letter J or J, aligned with the French pronunciation, while others have adopted its modern anglicised interpretation. So you see, the Glaswegians are actually holding on to the oldie worldy, the Frenchy way, the French way of saying an English word. English letter, go and work that out. Now, this is one I know I do myself nowadays, and it used to annoy the hell out of me when I first came to Glasgow. They end not everything, but most sentences get ended in but. And anything they do, it's because they had to do this but, and then they might be working tomorrow, but. You going out the weekend? Well, I'll try and get out the weekend, but it depends if I'm going to be working or not. But what? But. Another classic Glasgowism that seems totally normal to us, but twists the knickers off folk who are unfortunate not to have a G postcode. Yes, G40 posse in the house, Gulf 40. That's us. Don't be jealous, folks. An immediate marker for the rest of Scotland as to where we're all from. Glaswegians use the sentence final but, as it's known, to help reinforce the sentence. I'm going to take the face off you, but. That's what they say. So then, scrolling down, there's also the possibility that we use it at the end of a sentence for its contrasting meaning as an alternative to using words like though or however. Incredibly, just like Glaswegians, people from Queensland in New South Wales and Australian outback are known for their use of it and receive their fair bit of stick too. Luna, Donnie, can you concur? Can you confirm this for me? Are we finding a deeper connection between not just Scottish people but the Glaswegians and Australians? I think that's pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. Give me 2 seconds. I hear my son saying he needs help. What's this all about? I've never known a man. I'm like 5 foot nothing. I know I started off this stream, I was 5'4", but I'm shrinking rapidly, right? But my son, he's like a Nephilim. I swear, I don't know when he's going to stop growing. I was looking at his feet. His feet are absolutely, they're gargantuan. They're huge. His feet look like the size of my head and hands. And where did that come from? Where did it come from? So anyway, incredibly, right, we've got the Australian thing. Do know people that say that, but, says Luna, love it. You see, only like a true Australian, getting into the swing of things. So using stay instead of live. Yeah, big time. I don't think this is just Glasgow though, right? In other parts of the UK, it might be common to ask somebody where they live, but not in Glasgow, as we are more inclined to ask people where they stay. We weren't quite sure why we prefer to use more temporary option of stay over live, even when we speak about permanent or long-term things like our address. Now, stay should be used when referring to being on holiday or away from home, but that it makes much difference to us. So, where do you stay? Glasgow, obviously. I don't think that's I don't think that's such a big thing. I really don't. We're back. We're back. We're back. Here we go. Where are we? So, using how instead of why when asking a question. Now, I remember being in the work. This used to really, really annoy me. It's just so grammatically wrong on so many levels. But another one that causes untold confusion for some and drives others mad is our tendency to ask how instead of why. It's a curiosity that even Kevin Bridges has highlighted to comic effect a few years back in one of his stand-up routines. Again, I urge you all to check out Kevin Bridges. If I was to play something on Saturday Night Live or where this is from, I think it's the Odeon or something, we'd get well whacked. We really would. Jesus Christ gave us a copyright strike for playing a simulation game, for goodness sake, you know? Not even joking. Not even joking. So this here says, perhaps it comes from the old adage that says, don't ask why, demand how. Or is it just short for how come? In any case, asking someone how no instead of why not certainly does raise a few eyebrows among non-Glasgow natives. So if somebody kept on saying to you, how no? How? How? Aye, but how? How no? You see, if you're outside Glasgow, to me, that's just actually sounds quite normal. But then I'm thinking to myself, outside Glasgow? No, not so much. Now, this is another one that's really weird, right? Using ourselves instead of ourselves. Were. Now, there's a lot of things I could, like, bring up that tie in with this, but ourselves instead of ourselves. There's a host of other Glasgow sayings, and see, exactly, that we could have added to the list, like member instead of remember. Absolutely. Remember that? Yeah. Or the way we say definitely or definitely. Or definitely. See, I can't even say it right because I'm not from Glasgow. But the pick of the bunch is that curious way we have of saying ourselves using warselves. Now, it says WER, but I can tell you it's warselves, okay? Just from being here. Apparently, it's not just a Glaswegian thing. Our Geordie cousins get some stick from the rest of England for doing the same. So, who in their right mind uses the word? It's ourselves and the Geordies too. Boom, boom. So then you can turn it the other way around though, right? Because over here, we have got the sayings and phrases from the rest of Scotland that utterly baffle Glaswegians. And we'll rattle through this. Then we've got some urban myths that go around Glasgow before we then change gears and get into some science woo, okay? Could be something. Put it this way, if I was a real clickbaity type person, right? I could take what I've got sitting here right now that I think we're going to put together in a moment, and I swear, maybe I'm just not doing this right, but when you see what I've got, nobody else in the world's put this together. Nobody else in the world has put this together. Okay, and it's to do with aliens, it's to do with woo, it's to do with something that's in the news right now, and it's to do with something that the Kev Baker show done back in 2016. Now, if I was really getting to clickbaiting people and all the rest of it, I could probably do a good job. Go with the ingredients that I've laid out there, right? It's got all the good ingredients as in clickbait, yeah? So here you can see the cast of Train Spotting. Great film. Really, in a way, I mean, Train Spotting deals with the east of Glasgow, Edinburgh. Brilliant film. Don't get me wrong. And yes, there's a problem in the big cities in Scotland, whether it's Edinburgh, Glasgow, more so back in the day, not quite as much in your face now. But I think, you know, some of the stuff portrayed in Train Spotting, it's not exactly what Edinburgh is famous for to so many people, you know. But at the same time, it does highlight a lot of the kind of underbelly, maybe the stuff that goes less spoken about. But we're not here to talk about that today. No. We're here to talk about things that get said around Scotland that people in Glasgow just kind of look at each other and go, I've got no idea what you're talking about. So GADS, GADZ, that's the first one. It says this first one springs to mind in the expression that Kilmarnock folk seem to have tattooed on their tongues, judging by how often they use it. Now, Kilmarnock is like an interdimensional tramp's pocket. I'm not saying that in a good way or a bad way. I'm not judging, but it's different. And the people out there are different as well. That's all I'm saying. They're pies. Mwah, exquisite. People, cray-cray. But they say this word gads. Now, gads to me, I don't know what gads is, to be honest with you. It's a word they use to express disgust. But thankfully, we Glaswegian prefer the more eloquent and less weird terminology of minging, bogging, disgusting, or honking. So if something's like really bad, like people in Kilmarnock will say, gads. What's that? Is it like God, only with a Z and weird? At least people in Glasgow, it's easier to understand us, right? If something's minging, it's minging. Something's bogging. It doesn't sound too good, right? It's bogging. Disgusting or honking. See, we're easier to understand here. Chum. A word we'd never use in any way to describe a pal or a mate that somehow has been commandeered by Edinburgh folk as a verb to mean accompany. The very thought of asking somebody to chum you to the shops or to the bus stop is quite frankly skin crawling. We'll stick with saying jump along or come along, thanks. Yes, indeed. Kazi's going for the other Scottish alternative of clatty instead of bogging, yes. So yeah, this whole chum, very Edinburgh thing. Man, Edinburgh's a strange place, folks. It is. I'm just saying. Minter. Now, I had no idea what this one was until I read it today. It says neither a person who mints money or who leaves polo mints. And no, not a second-hand car. This term is popular among Dundonians, and at that point it all made sense, because Dundee's like... Oh, it's a strange place to denote someone who is ashamed or embarrassed. As in, I can't believe you just said that, you pure minter. So you use minter? Or you use munter? Oh, Anne uses munter. M-U-N-T-E-R. It's all coming out here, folks. A munter. I think a munter's is a munter not like a really crazy woman? See, Anne says, you try to say I'm a munter. See, you got to have you see, it's a minefield. A minefield, folks. Hanging mints. I have no idea. This is, I thought to myself today now, I can think of many things that hanging mints could be. So it says, hate the word moist. I've got no positive or negative kind of reaction to the word moist. Then this may trigger you. We doubt there's a more revolting sounding pair of words than this familiar Aberdonian expression. Now, taken from the Doric for a pun of sausages, it's used to describe somebody's hair and apparently also the feeling of a hangover. So if you've got a hangover, you feel like you're hanging mints. or if somebody's got really dodgy hair, like Donald Trump, like he's got hanging mince hair. I'm just throwing it out there. It might trigger somebody. I don't know. So, foos your dues. Aberdeen, listen, as a man that lived in Aberdeen, trust me, some things only bloody happen in Aberdeen. It's like so bizarre. They've got Doric. They talk about loons and quines. That's boys and girls. It's like, just crazy. Crazy. We could do a whole show on Aberdeen Doric, right? But it doesn't surprise me that this makes the list. And listen, Aberdeen, people outside of Aberdeen look at Aberdonians when they talk this way, and nobody knows what they're talking about. Only Aberdonians know what they're talking about, folks. I can tell you that right now. Foos your dues. Got to be something to do with pigeons, right? Keeping with the Aberdeen theme, another equally weird phrase used in the Granite City seems like something the pigeon lady out of Home Alone 2 would say. The do's in question actually refer to pigeons, but the phrase itself just means, how's it going? And the normal response is, aye, chaffing awa. So if somebody says, foos your dues, they're asking you how you're doing. How the hell? When did that ever happen? When did that? Foos your dues. Aye, chaffing awa, It's a brawl echt necht to necht, son. These people, where does that come from? Aberdeen. Doric. It's crazy. It's a brawl echt necht to necht. It's crazy. These people. So if anyone says, foos your dues, you know what they're talking about. Don't shake your head like a cuddy. No idea. A saying used in Perth and on the East Coast as well as Ayrshire, it seems. A cuddy is said to refer to either a donkey or a horse. Well, I've never known anyone in Perth or anyone on the East Coast to be going around with a donkey. What's that all about? As if we needed another name for either of the two. Now, a cuddy back is also used by folk in other areas of Scotland to refer to a piggyback, as in a cuddy lugs, is somebody who is always listening in on others' conversation. News to us, it says, it's bloody news to me as well. So you're not Weiss, or Weiss, yeah. Weiss or Weiss. Another expression used in the north of Scotland, as well as in areas such as Dundee, Ayrshire or Fife, with the Wiss pronunciation to rhyme with mice. So Weiss, mice. It's used when someone does something daft, as in you're not Weiss, but heavily accented. Also used in the term Weiss-like to donate something sensible to wear. Now, do you know where I used to hear this? Oh, you're not Weiss. Do you know who used to say that? Johnny Whistles Junie. Because she's from the East Coast. And funnily enough, she used to say to me in Whistles quite a lot, oh, used to are no Weiss. You see? So that one does make sense to me. So the next one says, he reckons he's Archie. Thinks he's Archie. This one has us feeling sorry for all the Archies that are out there, given the fact that it's an expression used when somebody's getting too big for their boots. It's a term used across places such as Perthshire, Aberdeenshire, with Dundonians also changing the Archie to Archie. Now, Dundee is a place that deserves a series of shows unto itself, because beyond the tramp's pocket lies Dundee. I tell you, the strangest cryptids that have been identified. Actually identified. Mankind knows about these things. We've known about them from years. They're the strangest things they're a bit of an enigma. Although they're known, nobody knows much about them because they're hard to figure out. Do you know what I'm talking about, folks? I'm not talking about Mothman or the Loch Ness Monster or little people or net. I'm talking about Dundonians. Have you ever met a Dundonian? If you haven't, then hey, who are you to argue with me? Please go and interact with a Dundonian. It's an experience. That's all I'm saying. I don't know whatever happened to me. I've thought about this before because growing up, you know, I had these strong feelings about Dundonians, and at one point I had to sit and ask myself. I had to really be very honest with myself and say, has something ever happened to me in my past where there was a Dundonian at the heart of it? Maybe I've tried to close it out of my memory. I don't know where this thing with me and Dundonians come, but they're just strange folks. That's all I can say. Every minute of every hour of every day in Dundee is like an episode of some crazy, crazy paranormal activity. That's all I can say. And whether it's Archies or Archies, I have no idea. So, next one says Barry. Another name-driven utterance that bewilders Glaswegians. This one is a common term used among Edinburgh folk, that'll explain a lot then, to describe something good or fantastic, as in, that was a Barry laugh. I can tell you right now, don't ever say that in Glasgow. Nobody's going to have a clue what you're talking about. If anyone does have a clue what you're talking about, you've immediately identified yourself as being an East Coaster. Not good. So it says, does that mean if a man called Barry is a good laugh, then he's a Barry? Confused? See? Now, Denny Ken. That must be one of the most familiar Scottishisms, if that's even a thing, outside the UK, right? Outside of Scotland. I mean, even like people like Joe Joseph, Scotty Lopez, all the boys, sometimes when they go to put on a Scottish accent, they'll say, I dunna ken, or I dunna ken. Well, they don't know it's Denny Ken, right? But that's quite a common thing then. People know about that. But what's it really all about? So it says, we've saved the worst to last. And one that us Glaswegians just can't get our heads around. Why folk on the East Coast and Ayrshire use the term ken instead of no. This is like, as a Scotsman, this even bamboozles me. It truly does. Anyone outside of the East Coast, when they hear people talking about, didn't he ken this, didn't he ken that, oh, I ken this, I ken that, I ken that, people just start looking at each other and nudging each other and thinking, what's going on here? I don't mean to offend anyone in the chat room called Ken. For goodness sake, my own brother's called Kenny. So it's not like I've got something against Ken. It's not that. Because apparently it's actually an accident word. It's not an accident word at all. It might even be an ancient word according to this. According to what I was reading, it's an ancient word that appears in a lot of Germanic languages with kennen or kennen, the root of the word to know. Picture it now, the latest blockbuster horror. I ken what you did last summer, set in Fife or Saltcoats. I think that'd be brilliant. We can see it catching on, especially if the phrase seems to have been shunned by the rest of the Central Belt. Aye, it's good fun today here, folks. It's Boxing Day. We're having a laugh. We're chilling out. We might have some big news on the way. It might be huge. It might not. Who knows? We're going to come back. We're going to take a look at one more Scottish thing. Some of the urban myths that fly around in Glasgow over the years. And then I'm going to take you into some of the potentially deepest space woo imaginable. Imagine it. If you can. Since it's unimaginable, can you imagine it? Oh, I'm not even going to set it up yet. Once we get the next story about Scotland out the way, I'll start to set it up. But you're going to have to bear with me because we might need to listen to like 15 minutes of a clip. It's a clip that not many of you have heard though. It's a clip from back in the day when we were mining deep woo here on KBS. Oh. And it connects to really significant space woo from today. The same goes to you. Nothing as it seems. Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to everyone. We're chilling out here today. We're just going over some fun stuff. We're looking at some crazy Scottish stuff. Yes, indeed. We're talking about Ken. Not that Ken. Any Ken? Do you Ken? What the Ken are they talking about? I have no idea. But we're going to take one more look at something Scottish before we dive into deep mysteries, and it could be something huge. It might not. I still haven't decided. I need you to help me decide if perhaps something going on in the news today, we can go back to something we have spoken about in the past and really add an extra dimension of woo to something that needs no more woo. First contact with aliens? What? But before we get there. Yep, I said it. First contact. I did say it. Before we get there, we got the Christmas tunes on. Glasgow's gangsters buried in the Kingston Bridge, and 7 other Glasgow urban myths. That's what we're going to get into next. Give me a second, folks. I actually just wanted to hear the bit about bring me some figgy pudding. There's something cool about figgy pudding. I don't know. But anyway, before I get waylaid and distracted and we're here all night, this is going to be one of our longer ones. And we tend not to do long ones on here. We tend just to go for maybe 2 hours tops and then knock it on the head. We're out of there. But it's Christmas. It's Christmas. Anyway. Gangsters buried in the Kingston Bridge. And other urban myths from Glasgow. There's the Kingston Bridge there. Is there gangsters in it? Probably not. Probably is. But number 1, Jack Nicholson had a flat in the West End. Did you know? Did you know Jack Nicholson, him out of Shining, he had a flat in the West End? Well, he didn't. It said that was a widely circulated rumour back in the mid-2000s across the city, especially in the West End. One sparked by suggestions that the Chinatown and Shining star once got a number 44 bus near Tennant's on Highborough Road back in September of 2002. Now, met with a bus full of folk chasing his autograph, he was reported to have told them, "I love Glasgow," as he took in the sights up University Avenue and Woodlands on his way into town for a few shandies in the Horseshoe and a sing-along to Prince's party, man. Now, the Horseshoe, anyone who knows Glasgow, the Horseshoe's like the karaoke place. The guy done Freddie Mercury, was it the X Factor or one of these, like, Britain's Got Talents? They sung in there anyway. That was his regular place. Next myth, there are gangsters buried in the Kingston Bridge. A classic one that resurfaced in the late 1900s, but it was the late 1900s, right? 1990s, when national newspapers ran the story whilst refurbishment works on the bridge were being carried out, and the urban myth suggests that several gangsters who disappeared in the city around the time the bridge was getting built in the late 1960s were done away with, and their remains buried in the concrete support piers or the foundations of the bridge. Look, it says that it's a myth. Keep an open mind on that one, okay? Keep an open mind. Bono receives the ultimate echo. Bono. There's somebody I'd love to slap about the face with a guitar. Perhaps the best urban myth to sum up Glasgow's unmatched sense of humour. Said myth is said to have occurred on June 21st in 2005 when U2 performed a sold-out Hampden Park as part of their Vertigo tour. Now, the story goes that he said, "Every time I click my fingers, a child in Africa passes away." During a break in the music to promote, the cause of Make Poverty History in the lead up to the G8 summit, to which some guy in the front row shouts back, well, stop doing it then. It's just classic Glasgow humour. I don't think that's an urban myth, I think it's fact. Now this one's really funny. The German court translator. Out with the famous Glasgow Sheriff Court story of famous drag queen Betty Hutton telling a judge, now wait for this and try not to laugh too much. From where I'm standing, I'm not the only one strutting around here in a wig and a gown. What's your excuse? There's another urban myth said to have caused laughter, which broke out in court in the day. It concerned... That's brilliant though, isn't it? From where I'm standing, I'm not the only one here strutting around in a wig and a gown. What's your excuse?
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
Boom. And next one, it concerned that of 3 German sailors in the dock one Monday morning after being thrown into police cells for misbehaving on a weekend visit to Glasgow. And when the judge asked if anyone could speak German, a local is said to have stepped forward to assist, because in Glasgow there's always one gentleman. There's always somebody there that can cover it. He's got things covered. You know, what did he do? And when that judge told the Good Samaritan to ask them their names, he coughed and said, "What is your name?" Ah, brilliant. Oh, too funny. There's a full street, including shops, under Argyle Arcade. Oh my goodness, is this like a deep underground shopping facility? Not even deep, shallow underground shopping facility. Is it? Rumours have been rife for years among history buffs in the city that there is a 1-story high street. Is this taking us back to the times of like Tartaria, mud floods, and parts of the story that have been hidden? So rumours have been rife for years among history buffs in the city that there is 1-story high street with intact shops from the Victorian era, some 70 feet directly under Argyle Arcade, in what is an exact copy of what is on the ground level. And let me just tell you, ladies and gentlemen, unless you're a bajillionaire, you ain't buying anything in the Argyle Arcade. This is like where it's like 10,000 quid for a watch. You like, if you go in to view one of the watches, they sit you down, they give you like caviar, champagne. There's like armed guards going about. Alright, there's maybe not armed guards, but it's like where the footballers and the pop stars go. You don't find too many Glaswegians in there, let me tell you, alright? So it says, sounding a wee bit like Dagon Alley in Harry Potter. Never watched it, never will, wouldn't care, wouldn't know. It's said that the shops in the arcade used them for storage. But such a street, being beneath the water level of the Clyde, would likely flood, but don't let that get in the way of a potential conspiracy. As such, it should be consigned, like The Wizard, to being fiction. Really nasty clowns roamed the streets in a transit van. I've heard this story before and I don't think it's a myth. Anne just said it's not a myth. We'll file this one under, quote, the one that made Wayne's hands tremble as they ate their play piece. Now, Wayne's, this should have came up in the Glasgowisms. That's young Scot. That's like young children. Wayne's, okay? Bairns is another Scottish word for it. But the idea that really bad clowns roamed the streets in their shabby transit van spread like wildfire among younger generations in Glasgow and further afield, with kidnapping kids on the agenda to give them a Chelsea smile. Now that's a cut. And like, if you like a little razor blade there and a little razor blade there, and yeah, you can imagine. Make them laugh until their face is opened. Depending on the area, it would be a blue or white transit van that was the chosen form of transport. What colour of van was it in? Oh, a white van where Anne was. It was a white van. A white or a blue one, depending where you were, Anne. So it says some folk embellish the myth by saying that they only came out the woodwork every August, as if they had full-time jobs elsewhere. Sorry, I had to laugh. Oh, sorry. Right. Next one is an upside-down iron brew bottle made the taxi meter go up quicker. What? That's definitely typically Glaswegian, right? Says perhaps the most bizarre urban myth we've heard, but a popular one nonetheless. Years ago, it was thought that an upside-down bottle of Scotland's other national drink behind a taxi meter would make it go over quicker, meaning more hard-earned cash for the Hackney driver on their journey. Who knows? Maybe it was the iron in the orange nectar that worked like a magnet for the meter to keep turning over. But as far-fetched as it sounded, it seems some folks believed it, telling Hackney drivers to take the bottle off the meter, big man. Brilliant. David Bowie once had a private tour round Kelvin Grove Art Gallery and Museum. That's not too hard to believe. It says there's a few Bowie urban myths that still tread water to this day in Glasgow, with one particular one suggesting that the music icon had Kelvin Grove all to himself one evening to enjoy the vast collection of art at his leisure after normal opening hours. Now a visit that to this day has never been confirmed, alongside another musical related museum myth suggestion that his old pal Freddie Mercury had once made a handsome donation to the museum's coffers. The reason why his name exists on the donations plaque. This Bowie is also rumoured to have taken a star off the ceiling of the Barrowlands Ballroom following a gig at the venue in 1997. Now, the Barrowland Ballroom, it's infamous. It truly is. And it's only like 5 minutes walk from where we are. I thought it would come up with a picture there, but it didn't. Get it here. This is like, you've got King Tut's in Glasgow. That's a place where you find a lot of the new bands that start out. But most of your big bands go here. It's there, the Barrowland. Like I said, it's only like 5 minutes that way top. See. But we got a message in now. So yeah, listen, right? What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put on a little bit of music. You can hear it in the background there. I'm not going anywhere because we're gonna change gear now. We're gonna change gear totally. We're gonna take a look at a fireball that went over China, but then we're gonna start to get into something that I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. It's good weird. It's KBS weird. You'll be glad you waited. And trust me, there's a lot of listening to be done. This isn't like some wham bam thank you ma'am, I can just hit you around the head with a quick takeaway. I can't do that. Because we need to go back in time. We need to fire up the chronovisor. And we go back to one of the lost KBS episodes. And it is lost. It's totally lost until today I found you what you need to hear. And what connects to a story that's huge right now. Oh, dang, dude. First Contact? Is it happening right now? Wouldn't it just, Nancy? Wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? We've still got 4 days to go. Nancy says first contact would make for a great season finale to 2020. Smiley winky face. And I agree with the smiley winky face, Nancy. I'm with you. As it's been my one I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for the first contact. I put it out there back in about, what, September time or something. And I don't know. I don't even know how to set up what I've got for you. But it's good. And it's woo. Oh, it's woo. Listen, this is really mind-blowing. 115 people. Wow. We usually get like maybe 60 during the week, which I think is absolutely spectacular and stunning. I really do. But for so many people on a holiday, I hope I'm not wasting your time. I hope you're at least getting a laugh along the way. And we like the woo, we like to have a laugh. Kind of expressed a little bit of my comedic side there in the first, what, damn, we've been going for a while, been going over an hour and a half, I think. But now we're going to get into something else that, you know, we cover here a lot on the Kev Baker Show. It's space. Pretty significant event took place the other day. I seen this going around on Twitter, and then today my friend Nancy, she reminded me. And China, it's been in the news this year, right? But it was in the news for another reason just the other day. And I want us to take a look at this because it says a huge ball of fire. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Well, a huge ball of fire falls from the sky and crashes into a Chinese county, leaving locals stunned. I'm going to refresh the page here so we can get to see it. There we go. Lighting up the night sky, as you can see. Very reminiscent of Chelyabinsk. Remember the one we had in Siberia? So, like I say, we've had this event. Giant fireball was spotted flashing across the sky today in the Nanquine, China. Footage shows burning sphere exploding, plummeting into the country. Local media suggests the fast-moving object could be a very bright meteor, right? So, if we go back, hopefully we can see it again, can we? Let's move on to the next one. We'll just refresh it. We'll go back. Now, we've had the Ursid meteor shower going over the 22nd of December. So we have had incoming, as they say. We've had a lot of people looking skyward because of the great conjunction that was taking place in the skies between Saturn and Jupiter. We had the lunar eclipse and then the solar eclipse that happened as well. So a lot of people have been looking skywards, looking at things, the signs in the heavens, if we want to put it that way. Now, we had Ben Emlyn Jones on the show back at the start of last week. And we were, as me and Ben always do, talking about the disclosure debacle, as I like to call it. And Z Troy in the chat room, Troy, he had mentioned something in one of our live chats just the other day when we were about to leave, just when we were getting finished. And he mentioned something about To the Stars Academy. To the Stars Academy, for anyone who might have forgotten or doesn't know, I'd imagine most people here know, but that's Tom DeLonge and all of that good alien stuff that's been coming out. Remember we found out about the ATIP, the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program. We had Luis Elizondo, the insider dude coming out, and then went To the Stars Academy. And you know me and Ben, we've been quite outspoken about them. very critical of some of the people they've got on their board. Why? Well, because we think they're the very same people that have kept all of the UFO information secret over the years. And Troy was hinting that perhaps there was a breakup afoot over at To the Stars Academy. Now, I could find 2 articles at the time. There's meant to be an interview with George Norrie on Coast to Coast as well, where Luis Elizondo hints at the fact that him, Christopher Mellon, and Steve Justice, another member of the board of To the Stars Academy, they're taking their stuff and they're going elsewhere. That they're resigning, that they're not part of that anymore. Now, I don't know what's going on there, because when you go to the Stars Academy website, all those people are still on the website, okay? So, To the Stars Academy, disclosure. A lot of us have been talking about disclosure for a number of years now, especially since the attitude in the media has changed. You add to that the Skinwalker Ranch TV show where they're talking about in season 2, if there is a season 2, I haven't checked that out yet, bearing in mind that Kevin Burns, the director-producer of the show, passed away after season 1 had completed. Now, he's also the man that put together The Curse of Oak Island. But Oak Island has come back with a new season, so the reason I bring that up is just because Kevin Burns isn't with us anymore doesn't mean that Skinwalker isn't going to come back. And if it does come back, First Contact, I mean, that's a bold claim to make in your season 1 finale, right? Where basically they're sitting there with the Utah, I think it's the district attorney. I think I could be wrong, but it's somebody definitely at the seat or has a seat at the wheels of power in Utah, a government, a suit kind of guy, and he's on board with Brendan Fugel. I think that's the guy's name. Brendan Fugel? Sounds right, Brandon Fugel. The billionaire that owns the place, you've got Travis Davis, I think the scientist's name is, involved in the project. They're talking about First Contact. So in 2020, you know that I've been throwing it out there from time to time that my call, my shout, my thing that I'm waiting for to happen in 2020 amidst murder hornets, monoliths, global pandemics, and everything else that this year's brought us, right? I said, well, how about, and Malaya says Brendan Fugel, how about First Contact, right? So the other day there was a story that came out, and it said, and this is December the 18th, 2020, and it says scientists, or a scientist believes they have detected a mysterious radio signal from an alien planet. And it says here, could there be life in the final frontier? Scientists believe a mysterious radio transmission they detected is something coming from an alien planet. Now, let me just pause it there, right? So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to look for a channel. And it's this one here. Now, this is about the same story, okay? Radio emissions detected from a planet called Tau Bootis. But what caused it? And this guy here does a brilliant job of breaking this down, because this headline that we had up a moment ago, it's slightly misleading, okay? Because when you read that, you think to yourself, all right, we've got some signal coming from an alien planet. Cool, right? But when you actually break down the science of what's going on here, what they were actually looking for was, see how we've got the northern lights, the aurora borealis, and how we've got where the solar wind comes in, and we've got the bit round the North Pole and the bit round the South Pole that emits high energy. Well, scientists thought if we go looking for other planets, could we tell if planets are maybe have an electromagnetic field like we do by looking for those telltale signs? And they found it, right? They found it. And that's what we're dealing with here. And it says, according to Megan Bartels with space.com, astronomers research, and I'll bring this up over here, sorry. Astronomers research led them to uncovering a particularly interesting radio signal coming from a star named Tau Butes that has at least one exoplanet. Keep that in mind that it's got at least one exoplanet, will you? And you might not have seen this because I'm not sure if I had it on the screen before, but there's the video I'm talking about. I'm going to play a little minute of this. Not too much, so I don't want to get copyright strike. Not that I think he would. But I need to kind of play this before I take you back in time. And I think I'm going to blow your mind. I think I'm going to blow your mind. Okay? Take a little listen to this. Now, wait 2 secs. That's my fault. Sorry, folks.
Once in a while comes a time when I start getting a lot of emails asking me to talk about a certain discovery. In this case, this discovery. Mostly because of all of the titles that were created by various press releases that unfortunately were a little bit too clickbaity. And obviously, I'm also guilty of certain clickbaity titles in the past, but this one really takes the cake. Scientists think they've detected radio signals from alien planet. Astronomers may have detected the first radio signal coming from an alien world. Cornell scientists find first radio signal coming from an exoplanet. Okay, all of those are sort of true, but they also imply a completely different thing. They imply we've discovered a radio signal coming from aliens. Totally not what we found. As a matter of fact, it has nothing to do with aliens, but it is an extremely exciting study. And I wanted to talk about this because it does actually help us find something that we've been trying to discover for a very long time. Earth 2.0. A potentially habitable planet with an actual magnetic field that can protect the planet from dangerous radiation. And this is what this study is really about. Hello, wonderful person, and today we're going to be...
So what he does, right, he then does it without the whole clickbaity thing, because he's covered this before. Look, listen to this.
Talking about this pretty exciting study from the Cornell University that was able to test an idea that they had for a very long time, that we can actually detect the magnetic fields of various planets even outside of the solar system, which is exactly what they were able to do. They were able to detect the radio emissions coming from the so-called aurora or northern lights, or southern lights if you want, of a distant object in a completely different star system, and that's the most exciting part of the study. And all of it is really based on the idea that the aurora, the northern lights, are basically...
I want to take you back here. The search for radio emissions from the exoplanetary systems 55 Cancri, Andromedae, and Bootes. When I started hearing what Anton was talking about, yesterday this started coming together in my mind. It got me thinking. It really got me thinking because that Bootes star system is not something that's new to me. And it's not going to be something that's new to a lot of you out there as well. Now, I know, 2 seconds, I just need to pull something up here. I know a lot of you in the past have asked me to cover what, in my opinion, is one of the greatest woo stories out there to cover. And it's something called the Black Knight Satellite. the Black Knight satellite. Now, for those of you who might not know, but I would imagine most of you do, the Black Knight goes something a little like this. The Black Knight satellite theory claims that a spacecraft is in near polar orbit of the Earth, which is of extraterrestrial origin, and that NASA is covering up its existence and origin. The theory combines several unrelated stories into one narrative, and a photo taken during the STS-88 mission claimed by some to show the Black Knight satellite is catalogued by NASA as a photo of space debris. And space journalist James Oberg considers it as probable debris of a thermal blanket confirmed as lost during the mission. Now, if I just come down here just a little, and if I highlight this here, it says in 1973, 3 years before I was even a little idea swimming about in my daddy's pocket, Scottish author Duncan Lunan, Scotland again, there's a bit of a Scottish theme to today's show, right? Analysed the long delayed radio echoes received by Hals and others and speculated that they could possibly originate from a 13,000-year-old alien probe located in an orbit around Earth's moon. Now, he suggested that the probe may have originated from a planet in the solar system of star Epsilon Bootis. Now, it says here that Lunan later retracted his conclusion. And that's the part of the story that not many people know. But what if I was to tell you that if you would like me to, and only if you would like me to, I can play for us one of the lost KBS files. What if I was to remind all of you out there that I don't just talk about Duncan Lunan because he's in Wikipedia. Nope. I've had Duncan Lunan speaking to me back in October of 2016. And this is where it got a little bit weird for me today. A little bit weirdigan, cardigan, odigan, and dugigan. I don't know what I'm even talking about. Weirdigan, right? Because I went looking for the full show and I couldn't find it. I couldn't find it. I think it must have got taken away with one of our old YouTube channels. But if you want, if you like, if you have the time, I can play for you, say, 15 minutes of that interview or so, where, yep, the man who decoded the message from the Black Knight satellite that we were talking about here, the guy we were mentioning, Duncan Lunan, I've had a conversation with him. Algorithm, wow, dude. It's going to come up in a little second here. Algorithm certainly wants me to play it. I'll play it if you people want me to. If you want to hang around, we can certainly do that. I can do it. I've got it here. I just need to find the bit where it starts, but I think it's worth it. You know why I think it's worth it? I think it's worth it because now we're talking. Hey, thank you, Algo. King
Play
Sweet,
it please and Merry Christmas.
King Sweet's coming into a 3 as well. Michael Knight, what's this channel about? Nobody knows. It's the #1 abnormal paranormal show in the world. You have to figure it out for yourself, my friend. King Sweet, yes. So I can play me talking to Duncan Lunan if you want. Does that sound all right? I can't find the full 1 hour 20 minute had a 1 hour, 20-minute video of him. Can't find it. I must have been when the YouTube channel got done the last time when we lost 1,600 videos. I think we lost that one. And that was back when we only had a 1 hour show on TFR. So I didn't play it on TFR, or it would have been in the archive there. It's not in the archive, but what is in the archive is the first 20 minutes or so. And it's enough. It's enough to blow your mind. It blew my mind today when I re-listened to it. And it ties in with a very, very, very important story that's in the news today about the fact that they, well, loosely believe that they've detected mysterious radio signals from an alien planet. What if this wasn't the first time that people have been talking about this very alien planet? And the fact that they might have been trying to leave us a message. Oh my goodness. Now you see how it was hard for me to kind of put this together? It's not exactly easy to kind of, how do you even set about linking this together? Well, maybe the best thing to do would be right now me to shut up. Yep, Marty's saying just play it. Yep. ZX subscribe and find out. Exactly. Imagine asking somebody what their own channel's about. How rude. I'm only joking. But Michael Knight, the Black Knight, your cousin. We're going to get into it right here. Hang on. I need to find where it is in the show. It was in the second half of the show. You're going to hear Johnny Whistles here. Well, a blast from the past, folks. Hang on now. No, that's not it. That's not it. Wrong one. Over. Here we go.
Frequency radio obsolete. Generals in the American Army, Alex, and they show War 3. Then I'm hoping that means
There's
that
our
it
whistler.
can be fixed, Kevin. It can be stopped because it's getting really close. Gentleman called Dunk's story is far bigger, far greater.
Oh, here we go. I'll rewind it a little bit. Now, hang on. Aye, the Black Knight satellite. Oh boy. Bring back memories. Oh, I'm telling you. You're going to love this, folks. You're going to love it.
Polar orbit before
we'll actually listen to Whistles as well, right? We'll hear what Whistles has to say about it.
We will keep you abreast of all the cutting-edge information that you are not going to see on the mainstream. Now, something else.
Listen to how horrible that microphone and audio was back in 2016. Oh, my. Dave, he brought the A game to town, right? I'm telling you now, we're going to put my camera off here because nobody needs to see me when we're listening to this. Let's take a listen to October 2016 when I literally got the chance to talk to the guy who decoded the Black Knight satellite.
You're not going to see on the mainstream is the interview that I conducted with Mr. Duncan Lunan. And this was all to do with that Black Knight satellite. I love the thing. You know I talk about it all the time. And before we get into this inconvenient truth and a far bigger story indeed, Johnny, I mean, the Black Knight, what is it to you? As soon as I heard about the Black Knight, Kev, I was intrigued. But the thing that got me the most was
our man, the Whistler,
doing a polar orbit before we had the capability to do that, and that piqued my interest, and it's always been like that ever since. Same here, John. Same here. So, what if I was to tell you the story is far bigger, far greater, spans across a far greater period in time? It involves the pyramids, other star systems, ancient aliens, and like I say, the inconvenient truth about the Black Knight satellite with me and Mr. Duncan Lunan. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is a special broadcast from the Kev Baker Show. I'm going to be having a conversation with a gentleman called Duncan Lunan. Now, Duncan Lunan first came to my attention when I was researching one of our favourite topics that we like to talk about on the show, and that is, of course, this Black Knight satellite. What is the Black Knight satellite? Is it even real? What is the whole story about? Now, we've got Duncan on today to share his first-hand experience and research into this topic. He's been looking at this for absolutely years, and his investigation into it,
Well, this is the story of the Black Knight satellite that you won't have heard. Some are even going to call this the inconvenient truth. But if you listen to the full interview in its entirety, the story that will unfold, well, is far more sensational, dramatic, and significant than what you have probably been led to believe in the past. So without any further ado, it gives me great pleasure to bring on to this special broadcast of the Kev Baker Show, Mr. Duncan Loonan.
Thank you.
Now, this guy's got an even better Scottish accent than me. Let me just say that before he even gets going. All right, here we go.
Nice to be here.
Now, Duncan, for years, ever since I started looking into all of this alternative information, the one thing that really has stuck in my mind and caused me to lose hours of sleep, just so puzzling, is the Black Knight satellite. Now, I want you to talk to me and all of the listeners out there about how you became involved in this research into the Black Knight satellite and the possibility that we were receiving some kind of alien signals. Talk to me, Duncan.
I heard about it by chance in the 1980s when people started linking my name to it. I have a nasty feeling you're going to be disappointed with what I have to tell you about it. But basically, it has nothing to do with me. It really is an amalgam of a whole bunch of different stories. Well, actually, I think the true story is far more interesting and far more exciting. It's just that the Black Knight blooming thing keeps getting in the way of it.
This is why I am so ecstatic to have you join me today, because many people, like myself, we have kind of cherry-picked the more fantastical sci-fi aspects of the whole subject. However, the truth, like you say, it's far removed from what a lot of us know, and at the same time, far more fantastic. Now, I think the best place, or maybe I should ask you the best place to start, but I've been led to believe that this all came about because of something that was detected, and they were called long delay radio echoes. Would that be a good place to start, Duncan?
Okay, let's begin with that. Back in the 1920s, Philips at Eindhoven were conducting research into round-the-world echoes after Marconi had managed to achieve the first transatlantic signals, and it was realized that radio waves were in some frequencies were bouncing around the world between the Earth and high altitude layers in the ionosphere. They set up a research program to look into it, and they had a transmitter under the control of a chap called Van der Pol, which was putting out pulses, Morse letters, primarily the Morse letter S. And they had an appeal out to radio enthusiasts, both professional and amateur, all over the world, to listen out for these and report their occurrence. In Oslo, there was a telephone engineer called Jürgen Hals, whose hobby was radio, and he was listening out to take part to the experiment. And he began to hear echoes, which instead of taking a seventh of a second to go around the world as the standard thing did, like a double pulse with the second half of the pulse weaker, instead of hearing that, he began hearing echoes, clear echoes, loud, clear echoes, coming back with a delay time of 3 seconds. And he correctly spotted that was the delay time on a signal from here to the moon and back. He thought that they were in fact bouncing off the moon, but the moon is a very poor radio reflector. And anyway, when the times were checked, the moon wasn't in the right place to be doing that. He went to an expert at the University of Oslo, an expert on the aurora borealis called Carl Sturmer. Sturmer had the idea correctly that the aurora was being caused by particle streams from the sun. And he had the idea that these might form belts or shells of charged particles trapped in the Earth's magnetic field. And essentially, he was anticipating the discovery of what we now call the Van Allen radiation belts, though he thought they would be much further out from the Earth than they actually are. And he jumped to the conclusion that the long-delayed echoes, or LDEs for short, were bouncing off a shell at around the distance of the moon. Had he thought just a little bit longer, he would have realized that they were in fact too loud to be physically bouncing off anything. Something had to be amplifying them. However, he asked Hals to keep him informed, and not long after Hals heard the effect again, he sent an urgent message to Stormer, who rushed over to Halsey's house and was just in time to hear the last of the 3-second echoes. The delay time then went up to 4 seconds, and then to 5 seconds, and then began to vary, apparently at random. So Stormer, immediately sent a telegram to Van der Poel, who repeated the experiment that evening and increased the delay between his outgoing signals from 5 seconds to, I think it was 15 seconds or 20 seconds. And he himself heard long-delayed echoes varying between 3 seconds and 15 seconds. And a lot of further experiments were performed after that, but that was how the story began. The effect has in fact continued on intermittently on radio signals up to 1975, and we'll maybe talk later about why it might have stopped. But we jump forward at this point to 1959 in the aftermath of Project Ozma at the Green Bank Radio Telescope, listening for the first time in hopes to detect extraterrestrial radio signals. A whole slew of scientific papers were published in response to that program. And the late John McVeigh, who was an industrial chemist at ICI Ardere and whose hobby was amateur radio, drew my attention to a couple of papers by Professor Ron Bracewell of Stanford University, in which he had investigated the feasibility of interstellar communication by unmanned space probe. And one of the things he had suggested was that such a probe in a target solar system might try to attract attention by recording signals from the planets and beaming them back to see what would happen. And he suggested that the effect might be like the 1920s radio echoes. As I say, John McVeigh drew my attention to this when he was contributing to a book project I had set up on interstellar travel and communication, eventually published as my first book, Man and the Stars. So I looked into it when I got to the research phase in the book, and I read up on the reports published in Nature at the time. And the first thing that struck me was that the variations in delay time appeared to be random. And I actually wrote it up as apparently a natural phenomenon. But there was something bugging me, and eventually I realized that the thing about the echoes as described was that they were of constant intensity. So the variations in delay had to be not related to the signal path. There had to be some, also this was where I noticed the point about the intensity, that something had to be delaying and amplifying the pulses.
As opposed, Duncan, to maybe the signal getting weaker when it took longer to return, you established that it was the same signal. So that, even to me, in my layman's terms, that's suggesting it's the same distance, only it's taking longer to come back.
One object. And if the minimum delay time was 3 seconds, it would be in the orbit of the moon. And in fact, I discovered a chap called in the British Interplanetary Society called James Strong had already suggested where they might be, where they might be coming from, either one or other of 2 points in the orbit of the moon, equidistant from the Earth and the moon, called the Lagrange points, either the L4 point or the L5 point. When this was later checked out, it turned out that indeed this appeared to be where the signals were coming from. The majority of the signals were heard when either the L4 or L5 point, normally the L5 point, was on the observer's meridian. And the link is too strong to be coincidental. It was actually investigated by George Sassoon, the son of the poet Siegfried Sassoon, who was also into radio and amateur research. And he established there was a very strong correlation. So far so good. I went back to Bracewell's papers, and in one of them he had said, if we picked up such an effect and responded to it, should we be surprised if the first actual message was a television image of a constellation? Well, the stars are spaced at random in the sky, so a set of star map coordinates would be a random series of numbers. So I thought this might in fact prove to be a crude graph to tell us just that. And when I tried it, drawing the axes and the various different orientations, at only the second attempt, I found myself looking at what appeared to be an image of the constellation Boötes, the herdsman, with one star picked out.
You heard that right. Duncan Lunan was decoding a message which had a star map which pointed to where? Boötes. The same Boötes that scientists believe they've detected a mysterious radio signal from an alien planet. And that's why I didn't quite know how to tell you just how significant a piece of the puzzle we might be placing on the board tonight. But it's not the Black Knight satellite. It's weirder than that.
And that star, Epsilon Boötes, and when I looked it up, was an orange giant star. It was a dying star. So it would give anyone who lived there a very strong motivation for looking for help from elsewhere. So I seem to have a pretty strong case there. I attempted to translate the other signals that were heard in the 1920s, sent a complete package to the British Interplanetary Society, who published a condensed form of the paper. They only picked on the most prominent of the signals to publish, but it caused a great stir.
So, Duncan, how was your research, your scientific paper, actually received by the world of academia?
It was very varied. The chap to whom the BIS referred the paper, the late Anthony Lawton of EMI, was initially very impressed with it, but went off it later. And the main reason I think that he went off it, to be quite honest, is that he was lent on by people who didn't approve. There was a lot of reaction that wasn't focused on whether I was right or wrong, but whether I, as an amateur scientist, had any right to do it. And there was a lot of talk about how I should not have attempted to translate the signals unless I knew for sure by some other magical means that the probe already existed. So, yes, there were quite a lot. Within the scientific community, there were some pretty adverse reactions, but mostly they were coming from people who were reacting to the press coverage. The press coverage started off pretty good as a front page scoop in the Sunday Telegraph. And it was picked up by the BBC, and it was in the news for several hours. But this was at Christmas 1972, and it got knocked out of the news by the Nicaraguan earthquake. Terrible, terrible event that simply took over the news. After that story had passed, people started thinking, wait a minute, wasn't there something sensational just before that? But the Telegraph, the guy from the Telegraph who had taken my biographical details, was a reporter from Edinburgh who insisted on saying that I was a native of Edinburgh because I'd been born there, although I'd never lived there. And he wouldn't say that I lived in Troon, where I'm now back. And he wouldn't say that I was a graduate of Glasgow University. He got the whole thing. He just put in, I was a native of Edinburgh.
Now, I would just like to add at this point, for the benefit of our global audience, us Scots, Duncan and I, maybe to the untrained ear, might sound similar. However, I can assure everyone out there that Duncan does not have anything even resembling an Edinburgh accent.
Definitely not. The thing was basically that after interest in the story picked up again, people were looking for me in Edinburgh, couldn't find me. The Daily Mail ran a very inaccurate article, which was syndicated in the United States, picked up by Time magazine, among others, and started a completely false persona for me as a professor at Glasgow University, which still haunts me to this day. I have never been a staff member of Glasgow University, and I am not a professional astronomer, much less professor of astronomy. And the facts generally were all wrong. The only paper to get it completely right in the United States was the National Enquirer. So nobody believed it. and they all printed the Time magazine story, which was taken from the Daily Mail and was wrong. So we go forward then to the end of the 50s, at which point the United States began a spy satellite program, initially called Discoverer and later codenamed Corona.
Here's your truth about the Black Knight satellite, ladies and gentlemen. Here's where here's as good as it gets, folks.
In which they were flying cameras on satellites and returning the film to Earth in small packages. This was the very first serious attempt at getting payload back from orbit. They had their successes. They also had a few spectacular failures. Quite a number of them came down far away from the target landing zones. One came down in the Arctic off Spitsbergen, and the search for it, with the Russians trying to beat them to it, was the inspiration for Alistair MacLean's novelised Station Zebra. Another one landed in the Pacific and sank, and they sent the bathyscaphe Trieste down after it. This has only now recently been revealed, and they actually got it, but it had been crushed by the pressure on the seafloor, so the film was unusable. Two of the return payloads initially vanished altogether. Nobody knew for a short while what had happened to them. But then two previously unknown satellites were detected in near polar orbit in exactly the same orbital planes as the two missing return payloads. And their closest point to Earth, and they were in long elliptical orbits, the closest point to Earth was at the height at which they'd been released. And what had happened was simply that the retro rocket had fired at completely the wrong angle and sent the payload into a higher orbit instead of down into the atmosphere. By 1959, the first of them had been identified, and the second one had definitely been identified by 1961. And everybody knew what they were. This was in the literature. I read about it at the time. Went, oh, that's interesting, but that was it, as I thought, the end of the matter. Suddenly, in the 1980s, I started being sent cuttings from UFO magazines and the like, saying that these two objects, the two lost Discoverer payloads, were Tombo's two satellites and were the source of long-delayed echoes. And this was where the name Black Knight got attached to them. The only reason I can think of for that is that at the time when those two spy satellite payloads were lost, Britain had a research rocket called Black Knight being fired from Woomera, which was reaching the same kind of altitudes. Otherwise, I have no knowledge of where that name came from.
And folks, we are back live again. You've been listening to the premiere the first 20 minutes of an hour and 20-minute long video.
That's like we're going back in the chronovisor there, ladies and gents. We fired it up from like 2016, the chronovisor. That was me speaking to Duncan Lunan. That was only 20 minutes out of an hour and 20-minute long conversation. And anything you've typically heard about the Black Knight satellite, you can't really remove from who you were talking or who you were listening to there, a man named Duncan Lunan. Now, the reason I played that today is because I remembered when I was speaking to Duncan, he was talking about the Bootis star system. And if I come over here, it all centered around a message. He decoded a message that went on to be this thing that came from the Black Knight satellite. But if you get into the full show, you learn that he was decoding a signal that was coming from a potential Bracewell probe. Something that was potentially in lunar orbit. In orbit around the moon, in other words. However, when you go back and listen to the full show with Duncan, and I'll have to dig it out somewhere, I'll find it, folks. I'll get the Wayback Machine or something, I'll get it. But the story that he actually tells is more fantastic and more woo-filled than what we've been left with as our misconception of this woo-filled topic, the Black Knight satellite, polar Earth orbit, tens of thousands of years old. This message that's coming from it. A message, yes, and I've got the message here. And the message that Duncan Lunan decoded read like this. Start here. Our home is Upsilon Bootes, which is a double star. We live on the 6th planet of 7, coming from the sun, which is the larger of the two. Our 6th planet has 1 moon. Our 4th planet has 3. Our 1st and 3rd planets each have 1. And our probe is in the position of Arcturus, known in our maps. And that's why today it had me scratching my head when I'm thinking, they've picked up a message from Bootes, the Bootes star constellation, an alien signal, the same one that in 1973, when Duncan Lunan was decoding that message that Tesla himself had picked up at one point, coming from somewhere out there, that talked about the star system Bootes. Only when Duncan Lunan pinned it down later on in life, when I nailed him down on what he thought, or where he thought this message was coming from, it gets even more fantastic. Because he claimed it was coming from a comet. A comet that had been here around the time of the pyramids, around the time of Göbekli Tepe, and would come round almost periodically, transmitting its message about the Bootes star system that we today are being told scientists are picking a message up from. We present one of the first hints of detecting an exoplanet in the radio realm. Jake Turner, an astronomer at Cornell University, told Cornell Chronicles Blaine Friedlander, well, don't tell Duncan Lunan, because I don't think you're the first. Nope. I don't think you're the first. It goes on to say that we make the case for an emission by the planet itself. From the strength and polarization of a radio signal in the planet's magnetic field, it's compatible with theoretical predictions. And it's coming from Tau Butis. And if we go to Epsilon Butis up here, and I take you down here, one of its exoplanets from the system that Duncan Lunan was talking about. You guessed it. It's there. Tau Butis B. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that is probably huge news, right? I don't know what it means. It might mean nothing. It might mean something. But that's why, and that's how I can safely say that sometimes here you get something you get nowhere else. Nowhere else. And you'll get it from somebody who's got no other agenda other than being genuinely excited about connecting dots and bringing the woo. So I'm going to put on some music. I'm going to see what people say. You're probably thinking, yeah, cheers for that, Kev. A lot to do about nothing. Cool. It's all good, folks. You know me. You know me. I just want to see what you've got to say about all of this. Maybe it's something. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe they just called home from Epsilon Butis. In fact, maybe Epsilon Butis has been calling out for us a lot longer than many people appreciate. It's 2021, the year when we phone home. Boom. Well, thank you, Aussie Tiger. That's some woo. I'm happy now. King Sweet says this is deep woo. I am so happy. So happy. I don't know if I'd go that far, Exode Earth, but thank you. You're a legend. Zadok, that full interview, all 1 hour and 20 minutes where Duncan goes on to name the comet in question, that used to be on my YouTube channel. It used to be on my website. But then we got thrown to the wayside. I know I'm not as big as that guy in Texas, so nobody really cared two hoots at the time, but we lost a lot of content, man. That was one of the lost episodes, but I'll find it. You know I've got you covered. I'll get you. You know it. And if all else fails, hey, he's in Scotland. I could always get him back on. Because you see, Duncan Lunan was really happy when he came on with me, because I was the one person that let him tell his story. Usually most shows cut him off when they got the Black Knight woo, and then, oh, that's it, we don't want to hear any more of that stuff, where, no, we just want to keep it with us, what we all think we know about it. Why did they try to hide the real story? And isn't it funny that now that we're hearing about this star system again for the first time since then? Maybe now it makes sense, right? Any predictions for 2021? Whoa, crazy times. Crazy times, Carl. That's it. King Sweet, I've had him on, dude. I need Nancy. Yep, I need to get him back. Get him back. Tell him that the KBS audience are loving his woo. You see some of the shows we done early on that a lot of people nowadays won't even appreciate that we done. The chronovisor's a great thing, innit? Okay, folks, okay, I'll be back. Hang on, give me 2 seconds here. I'm just opening something up. This looks like a bit of a...
Frequency Radio Network.
Hey. Almost full. Thought we were live on air there. I thought we were live. So, did I blow smoke up your tuchus saying that we might have something quite special? Might. It connects, right? It's woo. I'm not telling you, I'm not sitting here insisting that we have got first contact or anything, but I'll try and get him back on now. My mum had sent me a story about the Loch Ness Monster, but look, I've already been going for like 2.5 hours. Dang, dude, maybe even longer. 2 hours and 45 we're coming up on nearly. I don't want to keep you too much longer. Reynold Hergonrother, what a name, dude. Ren, he's going to be back, or she's going to be back. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Listen, we're pretty cool around here. We're pretty chill. I have no idea what's going on in the world, but I tell you what, I do invite you to join me. Sit right beside me. Ride shotgun with me as we navigate our way through the woo. Sometimes we'll go back in time to like 2016 and little things that just pick up in my memory when I'm watching What the Math. I'm thinking, Bootus. How do I know Bootus? That's right. I'm one of the few people on planet Earth that bothered to track down Duncan Loon, and I got an interview with him. And you heard him right at the very start. I've got a funny feeling you ain't going to like this. And that's because the story that most people think when you think of Black Knight Satellite, 99% of that, it's factoids that have been strung together to make a really nice story. But it's not the real story. And in fact, what's really weird and bizarre is the real story for me, somebody who likes the woo, it's far more fantastic. It involves an alien probe in the form of some kind of comet that's visited this planet periodically. It lines up with Göbekli Tepe. It lines up with Egyptian dynasties. And it lined up with us getting a message about Epsilon Bootis. And now we hear about Epsilon Bootis, and there might be a alien message coming from there. Well, I would be remiss. I wouldn't be your quantum mechanic, as Jimmy calls me. I've seen it in the chat, Jimbo. That's off to you. Merry Christmas, Jimbo. But I wouldn't be the best of quantum mechanics if I missed things like that, would I? Would I? So listen, I hope you've enjoyed your little Boxing Day experience. We've had a laugh at what is Glaswegian, what isn't Glaswegian, what Glaswegians laugh at, what we don't understand. And I've also taken you on a pretty miraculous journey of some of the deepest woo. Some of the deepest woo that might suggest that there's been an ongoing contact. Not first contact. Maybe we're now being told about it, but this contact's been ongoing. Way back to the times of Göbekli Tepe, at least. And what if I was to tell you, it's not a satellite that's going around the planet that's called the Black Knight. It's even weirder. It's even more wonderful. It's a comet that comes around here periodically, and it talks about a star system. It talks about a star system, all these exoplanets and moons, and now we're learning that we, with our modern technology, years, decades later, we're looking at this place and we're going, wait a minute. Are they sending us a message? They've been sending us a message in a space bottle for possibly tens of thousands of years. And if that isn't good woo for your Boxing Day, well, I definitely ain't doing a good job. So from me and my family to all of you out there that have tuned in today, and I swear the numbers off the chain, very humbling. You have made my Boxing Day. Now, get off of here. Go and see your family. Go and see your pet. Go and do what you've got to do. Thank you for taking time out and joining me. I'm glad that I didn't, I hope, can't say I'm glad, I hope I didn't build up the woo and let you down. I think we've pretty much delivered the woo today, right? Right? I think so. So on the way out, how about a little bit of this? And you need the Kev elf for this, yes.
We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. The tidings we bring to you and your kin. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Now bring us some figgy pudding. Now bring us some figgy pudding. Now bring us some figgy pudding and bring it out here. The tidings we bring to you and your kin. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. For we all like figgy pudding. For we all like figgy pudding. For we all like figgy pudding. So bring it out here. The tidings we bring to you and your kin. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We won't go until we get some. We won't go until we get some. We won't go until we get some. So bring some out here. The tidings we bring to you and your kin. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. The tidings we bring to you and your kin.
Kazi, from my family to your family. I hope you get well very, very soon. Michael Knight, I hope you enjoyed your first visit to the KBS madness. Don't make it your last. Come back. We're different here, but in the best of ways. I even undersell the woo and the clickbait that I've got. I'm telling you, it's not for everyone. But oh, I tell you, we've got our own vibe going on here, and I think you'll fit just right, Michael Knight, on the day that we talked about the Black Knight. Yes, indeed. One more before we go. I am out of here. Take care. I'll be back tomorrow.
Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room.
And yes, I am an elf on the shelf, or I got off the shelf to be at the side of the box. I'm away to dress up like this now because Anne loves it when I put on my elf suit. And yes, I do have shoes like that.
Joy to the world, the Savior reigns. Let men their songs employ, while fields and floods, rocks, hills and plains repeat the sounding joy. Repeat the sounding joy. Repeat the sounding joy.
Merry Christmas, everyone!
No more let sins and sorrows grow, nor thorns infest the ground. He comes to make his blessings flow, for as the curse is found, for as the curse is found, for as the curse is found. He rules the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations prove the glories of his righteousness, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love.
a great Christmas, and I'll be back